Here's what most new guys to approaching do not understand about fear. So welcome back to the Man Alive channel. It's all about cold approach here, making it work. I'm your host, Shaka. Let's get into it. So, the biggest barrier, absolutely 100% in getting started and moving through the ranks, as we say, right? Building yourself up from beginner to reaching intermediate level, which is a big milestone, and then going from intermediate to advanced, is fear. Fear feels like everything in the world is going to go wrong if I do this approach. Someone's going to kill me, someone's going to run me over, she's going to shout me down, and all these people are going to look. She's going to kick me in the nuts and hit me with her bag. Some cop is going to come over and arrest me and throw me on the ground, slam me if I try to go approach this girl. Your mind comes up with every worst case scenario, right? As I like to call it, catastrophizing, to get you to stay in place, to get you to not move an inch. Fear is a very seductive thing, right? Because it slips in little by little. It might not even be perceptible. It might be imperceptible, but then it starts to grow, right? And fear is one thing. You let the door open for it, then soon enough, it's everywhere, right? You're thinking in a fear-based mindset from all different angles. It blocks you. It clouds your judgment, limits your actions. Most people feel fear in approaching as like there's an invisible wall. There's a real wall holding them back, right? There's chains on their arms and legs and on their neck, right? Their heart is racing and they're sweating like a pig and oh my God, I don't know what to do, or well, really they know what they're doing, or they know what to do, but the fear is so overwhelming, they don't want to do anything, right? It's you're not getting afraid of not doing anything. You're afraid of taking the step. You're afraid of jumping out. You're afraid of making a start. And fear, what you understand only through experience and time, right? Fear is a liar. Fear is absolutely telling you bullshit 99.9% of the time, right? The things that we fear the most usually almost never come true. This is in life and in field. It's just the way it is, right? You fear getting ridiculed and scolded in front of other people by this girl and her hitting you and her calling you names and all this other stuff and looking indecent. And not only do you not do that, it might not go the way you want it to go, like perfectly, she loves you, she's jumping all over you, but it's not even close to what you imagined would happen in the first place. It's not even almost there. It's so far from that that it's actually comical to look back at what you feared and say, damn, did I really think all that nonsense was going to happen? Because it just doesn't. The imagination, the way your fear is played up versus the bad scenarios that actually happen, they're night and day. They really are. For the vast majority of the time, it's ridiculous to see how our minds play tricks on us. Our minds move us in certain directions toward survival and safety. So we're perceiving the unknown as dangerous. So we don't want to take steps in that direction. We want to stay towards the known, the survival instinct, right? The safety net. But we will our minds play tricks on us to get us to think that where we are is more safe than where we're going, right? And the unknown is scarier than it actually is, right? The unknown is uncomfortable, for sure, especially when you're in the valley figuring things out. But fear makes it feel and makes it look more uncomfortable than it actually is. The reason why I want to harp on this is again, a lot of people never make their journey. They never even start, right? And if they start, they quit very early. And if they make a start of it and they keep it going, somewhere along the way, fear unmans them. At some point, right? Even if you learn how to approach, the next step is staying in conversation. So a lot of guys will say, "Gosh, well, I don't want to force her to talk to me, and I don't want to seem try hard and needy, and I don't want to seem like a creep to the people around, and I don't want to have to stay there and force her to talk to me, etc., etc." Right? All these fears cloud your mind, and it happens all over again, right? First, fear told you not to approach at all because you're going to die. Literally, your heart's going to explode, or whatever it is, right? Whatever the nonsense that your fear is telling you. Then you go to the next step, which is staying and conversing, and fear is telling you the exact same thing, right? Screaming, 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 right? And it's never a subtle warning, like with intuition, like with guidance, right? Your internal guidance, your internal compass is it's usually subtle nudging, but fear is always screaming. It's always loud. It's always abrasive. It's always trying to shock you into something. So something to keep in mind. But thinking about it, right? It always does that, no matter what level you move on to. So after you stay and converse, you learn how to do that. The next one is what? What's the next one? The next one is learning how to get man to woman. So we'd say complimenting. Complimenting. Your fear in your mind is overblowing the situation. I'm gonna say something that's gonna really offend this girl, and other people are gonna hear it, and little kids are gonna hear it, and they're gonna look at me and scold me, and everybody's gonna stand in front of me with their finger out, waving and wagging it in front of my face, including the girl itself and the girl herself. And not only that, but her boyfriend is gonna pop out of the woodworks and come and beat me over the head. Right? It's designed to keep you safe to your detriment, because safety is relative, and it's designed to overblow the danger within the unknown. Completely overblow it. Completely run it off a cliff. Right? Have your imagination running wild to your detriment. When you can learn this, when you can understand this is very, very crucial. It's very, very key. Again, it doesn't matter what level you're at. It's going to play a part. It's going to jump in and disrupt things at every level, right? When you hit intermediate and you start to learn advanced skills, guess what? Guess who's coming knocking on the door? Just take a guess. It's fear. And the fear will tell you, maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you shouldn't try this. It always will. Always. It always has some nonsense to tell you, some nonsense to say. But you have to learn in the process of getting better, in the process of facing that fear, experientially. You understand that fear is a liar. You understand that fear is just telling you nonsense to keep you in the same place. You understand that it's not real. None of the stuff that it's saying is real. It's just not. It's all made up, imaginary, polishing of worst case scenarios, catastrophizing. Once you can understand that experientially, not just intellectually, but you can feel that, then it's easier for you to move ahead and do what you need to do. But you have to reframe it in such a way, right? Which is, I think, is also a big part of the journey, a big part of my journey, right? Reframing what you feel, right? Fear is not a barrier. Fear is not chains holding you back. It's actually a signal to you that you're moving in the right direction. If I'm stepping into something, a situation that I fear, right? Maybe I'm used to doing girls by themselves, and I see a girl standing around with two of her friends, or I see a girl standing around with her parents, or I see a girl, hanging out on the phone, and I have fear. That fear is telling me you're on the threshold of a new experience, a new situation. You're going to learn something new. You are going to step in and grow. That's what fear is telling you. When you can understand that and slowly take action to lean into that fear as opposed to run away from it, you will grow, you will improve, you will see results and benefits that you never thought you would see. right? You understand that fear is an exaggerator, that fear is a liar. Fear is designed to keep you in the exact same spot because who knows what's going to happen. It's overblowing what's actually going to happen in the unknown. You take steps to slowly lean into your fear little by little, right? It doesn't mean if you're like a for the example, if you're afraid of doing 3 sets, it doesn't mean you just go around for the most for the most part, right? You do nothing but 3 sets. Most people can't do that, right? The first session back, you just do nothing but 3 sets. No, you do one, and then the next session you do another one, and then the next session you do another one for a couple of days. Then maybe later, a week later, 2 weeks later, you do two, and then maybe a month later you do four, right? Something like that. You ease into it. Most people cannot get themselves to be immediately desensitized or jumping into the cold pool completely. It takes working up to it. So that's the best way here as well. You have a line, you have a compliment that you want to tell girls, right? Something you've written down, something you want to practice. You don't aim to go out and do it 10 times or 12 times, 20 times. Just do it once. Just step into that pool one time, right? And then the next session you go back for once again. And then after you do that for a week, 2 weeks, maybe you step it up to two, right? Slowly but surely, you lean into that. The more you lean into it throughout your life, not just in cold approach, but specifically with speaking in cold approach, you'll just find you'll be more and more ready to deal with the fear that comes up. You'll know it's nonsense. You know it's overblown. It's overblowing the negative consequences of what you're going to do. You realize that things might not go your way, but you can handle them, right? But it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. And you actually learn. You actually move through the ranks. You actually do it. But fear unmans a lot of people. I think this is a very important point because people don't even start, man. People don't even get it going. People don't even get it kicking. They don't even get it in gear. I mean, not even close. Just the fear of something going wrong. It seems logical. It seems rational. It seems like you're making a good choice, right? Fear knows how to make things seem real. Fear knows how to make things seem like, yes, this is actually good logic, right? 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals I should stay in the same spot. It knows how to speak to you like that. It's very, 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 very good at that, right? Because it's your survival mechanism. That's what's making you flip out in that moment. But for you to understand that it's just telling you lies completely, completely, right? It seems logical, it seems rational, it seems like it'll save your life, but it won't. It actually will not, right? You need to understand that. You need to act little by little in a way to where you're sitting in the unknown situation and you're realizing this is nothing. This is not what I imagined it would be. It ain't doing nowhere near what I thought it would do. Nothing near, nothing close to that. You know, it's all experiential. One, there's a few different sources that I like to point people to in terms of fear. One is an old Robert Kiyosaki video where he talks about fear in business. It's a very short clip. It's a couple minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes or so, maybe or somewhere around there, maybe even less than that. When he talks about fears screaming inside your head, false expectations appearing real is what it really is, right? Spelling it out that way. Um, fear makes things seem like the logical and reasonable choice would be to do nothing. But the logical and reasonable choice is to ignore fear because fear is telling you nonsense, right? Another anagram that Robert Kiyosaki has in that video is fail early and responsibly. which I think is very apt, specifically speaking on real estate and investing, but even in cold approach, right? Fail early and responsibly. You fail early, you go and you learn what you have to learn so you can succeed later, right? It's a long-term play. And over the long term, you grow. Also a chapter, also by Robert Kiyosaki, in his first book, If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School. It's Education's Biggest Mistake, where he talks about how the school system trains people to fear failure, fear mistakes, because it's training you to be a worker who takes directions, who takes orders, who is always right, has to be always right because their job depends on it, not to take risks, chances, etc., etc. Read that. Absolutely read that. Go find that video. I'll see if I post links to that. And the third one, the third chapter that I want to reference is in How the Mighty Fall by Jim Collins. He's written a bunch of other business books, if you've heard of his stuff before. And I forget the title of the chapter because it's at the back of the chapter, right towards the end. But he has a story. He explains that when he was younger, he went rock climbing one time. And it seemed like he was going to slip. He had to grab onto something really quickly, right? The reflex, his survival instinct kicked in. But his survival instinct, the fear of falling, actually told him to do the wrong thing. So he went to, like a pin was going to slip, and he went to do something instinctively to save himself. And it was actually the wrong thing. His instructor, his rock climbing instructor, actually had to come in to help him and save him in that instance. But he relayed that. He said, fear, damn near all the time, gets you to take actions based on your survival instinct, which are actually contrary. They run contrary to your survival instinct. It doesn't actually help you survive. It's the absolute actual opposite of that. They don't, but we don't see that, right? This is not what we hear. So he explains that story and he relates it to other companies, businesses who, once their survival instinct kicks in because they're in a grind, they're in a tough spot where they have to make things happen, they actually make decisions that are worse, that turn the wheel the other way, that make the situation get worse and more terrible and more perilous for them. Because fear has you operate from a survival instinct instead of thinking through things correctly and moving in the correct manner. But all of those, I will post a link to the chapter, the Robert Kiyosaki chapter, to the Jim Collins chapter. And if you can find the Robert Kiyosaki video, that would be great. I'll see if I can post a link as well. But the basic premise to understand is that fear is a liar. Fear is telling you nonsense will happen when you step into the unknown. It's trying to keep you safe, right? It's part of the survival instinct, the safety mechanism. But it actually runs contrary to that. Because when you think in fearful terms, you, most of the time, the vast, vast majority of the time, you do not act in a manner that is consistent with surviving. You stay in the exact same place and things get worse. So I hope you took a lot away from this. It's kind of long, but I am very passionate about this because this is a big reason for a lot of things in the world. Fear unmans and stops a lot of people from doing a whole lot of things. When we can understand it for what it is, we can make small moves leaning into it. So whatever, in terms of cold approach, whatever you're afraid of, go do a little bit of it. And slowly over time, dial it up. And you'll see a big difference in your life because you'll start to approach the rest of your life the exact same way, where you lean into your fear instead of away from it. And you realize, even more so, it's a liar, it's telling me nonsense. My true survival instinct and mechanism would tell me to move through the unknown and get to the other side. But fear is actually causing my life to diminish. So I hope you learned a lot. Share this with anybody and everyone you think it'll help, because this is very important. Everyone in the community specifically. And go out there and take incremental steps into your fear. Into it. You will realize it's not what you thought it was. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you, personally, from doing that in my life. It's not what you thought it was. Take care.